Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Cowboys Takeover. I'm your host, Jason Kent. I'm doing a little early this week because, as we know, our boys are playing on that Amazon Thursday night primetime game, their second Thursday night game. And this week, we are going against, in Dallas, thankfully, the Seattle Seahawks, who just came off of a shellacking, if you will, against San Fran, and then a tough one the week before that against the Rams, both division opponents. So they're totally they're starting to trend in the wrong direction, losing 3 out of the last 4, and Dallas is really surging right now. They're really coming up, and Dak is in talks for MVP. Man, even Bland, his name's getting thrown around for some pretty big awards this year, halfway through the season. But again, today's about that Thursday night game against the Seattle Seahawks. And I'm going to bring in, welcome back after a nice little vacation, the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Aaron James. Aaron, how does it feel to be back, sir?
It feels good, Jason. Got the batteries recharged, went coast to coast, and, happy to be back. Glad our boys really had like a statement Thanksgiving victory. I feel like a lot of things went right. You did a great job on the podcast, but I did, what you did say was that it was a closer game until the final minutes.
Right? I felt like it definitely was. Yeah.
So we couldn't get a lot cooking early on, but then kind of defense shows up, and we continue to blow out teams at home. So I'm hoping it's the same thing the next 2 weeks. And I'm also glad that the scheduling, the powers that be for the scheduling gave us Thanksgiving and the following Thursday. So it works out perfect.
It really does. And Dallas is really right now, they're in the midst of a very good stretch, winning 5 of their last 6 pretty handily. And, you have now, starting last week with the home Thanksgiving game, they have 3 straight home games. This week is, again, like you said, that Thursday night game, which to me, I like you said, I really like it because when you look who the matchup is the following week, don't want to jump too far ahead of ourselves, but that's a Sunday night primetime game against the Philadelphia Eagles. So I really like the way it works out, giving us that extra couple days when you look down the road, but you also don't want to look past this week. This is a big week, definitely seeding wise. Dallas is, they're getting one of the wild cards, more than likely. So you want it to be that, that first wild card team, but again, this could definitely be coming down the stretch. This could be, for division. So this is a huge game this week against the Seattle Seahawks, who this year so far are a 6-5 team. So the big thing is Dallas hasn't beaten a team with a winning record. We get to play one, but we all know what happens when Dallas wins this week. Well, they're probably the worst of the winning record teams. We know how that works.
Something like that, yeah.
But when you look up this matchup this week, what have you really seen with the Seahawks? How do you think they've played? How do you with Geno Smith, some of the weapons they have? They had 2 stud receivers go out and draft another in the first round this year. What have you seen from Seattle that you think maybe give Dallas maybe a little bit of worries coming up this Thursday?
Yeah, well, the feathers in the cap for the Seahawks so far stems from their they beat Detroit in overtime week 2. Then they had a pretty nice win against Cleveland, who we all know is a pretty serious. When was that? That was the week 8, I believe. Yeah. They had their bye early, week 5, which was pretty early on. They got swept by the Los Angeles Rams. Sean McVay doesn't let Pete Carroll, steal one or split the series. It's a pretty tough.
He never does though either. He always, I feel like, handles Seattle pretty. Even though when Seattle was good, I felt like the Rams. The Rams were always beating them, even when Seattle was winning those championships.
Yeah, and just when you think Seattle can kind of gain some steam, but they just lay an egg on Thanksgiving night, losing to their arch rivals, the 49ers, 31-13 and it seems like their home field advantage is not what it used to be. The 12th man.
Oh
I don't know
no,
if you
I
feel the
do
same
think
way.
I kind of feel that when you got that defense and Russell Wilson, the 12th man's a little bit louder than it is other times. Because the only time you ever really heard of the 12th man, is when they started coming up. So I don't know if it's that big of an advantage when you have a team that's, maybe a wild card, may not even make the playoffs. So yeah, I don't think it's as dangerous as it once was.
Yeah, but like you said, almost here on out, playoff implications, seeding implications. The Seahawks are going to be hungry to bounce back from back-to-back losses.
Yeah.
And we've talked about it before. Pete Carroll, I think he's a sneaky good coach. Any given Sunday, I feel like he can have his team prepared to come out, play hard, and steal a game. So you got to be on guard with all of your your scheme and your preparation.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you there, and I think they are one of those. You saw last year, Geno really, his comeback story has been really good. I remember watching him in the draft coming out, and just some issues he had early in his career, and he's really seemed to turn it around, which is very good. But they're a team too that's also, I think, tough to plan for, because when you look at it, yes, Geno, 12 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, so he's not really going to wow you and dazzle you in the air. But the good note is, they have 3 very good receivers. With DK and Lockett, DK is, a 1 on almost every team. Lockett is, he's past his prime, but definitely still a baller. And then Jackson Smith and Jigba, like, he's a rookie this year. He's got 38 catches. He's the least of the 3 in yards and catches, but 406. Lockett has 54 for 575. And then, DK, the big guy, the guy you're going to want to watch, 43 for 678 yards. And, it's tough to really say this isn't a game where I'm like, okay, I want Bland on him, I want Gilmore on this guy, because I feel like all of them are really good. So you can't really choose in who you want to shut down, which I think is going to make it a little more difficult. But Geno he will take a sack, which is a good thing. He has been sacked 27 times this year. And Micah, we talked about, after the post-game show for Thanksgiving, Micah's definitely starting to heat up. And this defensive line, I feel like they're really getting after the quarterback recently. So offensively, I think, offensively for Seattle and defensively for Dallas, I think it's going to be a very good matchup. It's going to be a matchup of scheme of, can they stop those pass rushers from really getting home before Geno can get the receivers in those playmakers' hands. And then even when you look at their running back, Kenneth Walker III and Zach Charbonnet are both very good, talented running backs. So this is a team, I think, maybe a little better than their 6-5 record indicates. But just offensively, they have a lot of fire. And I know, we haven't seen it a lot. They got really beat down last week. They got blown out by Baltimore teams with better defenses. But like you said, they beat, they hung in there with the Lions, who I don't think defense is their strong suit, or like ours. So, a better defense can slow them down, but they do have some talent. I think they're a very talented team. They may just not have all the pieces left or yet. They're not they're middle of the road defense. They're a big defensive player. Really, has Bobby Wagner. He has 113 tackles. Jordan Brooks, another linebacker, has 95. So, Bobby Wagner is probably the guy you're really going to look at on defense to know he's going to know what Dak's doing. So you're going to have to scheme for that. This isn't, a typical linebacker you used to stay in. This is one of the all-time greats. So I think you're going to have to scheme a little bit more with that.
Yeah, I agree. And Bobby, is someone that we were contemplating going after. We kind of wanted him, but we weren't sure how much he was going to cost in the offseason to bring him in after he parted ways with the Rams. And that was, reportedly a mutual agreement, but he decided to go back home to his, long time team in the Seahawks. Now, to your point, Kenneth Walker, he is listed as questionable For Thursday's game, he did not play against the 49ers, but he's averaging 4.1 yards a carry, and Charbonnet is at 4.6. So we did see. Was it? It wasn't. I mean, I guess the Commanders did all right, but I believe it was the team before. There were a couple gashes.
Oh, with Chuba. Yeah. I feel like they
Yeah,
did good this week, but the week before it was Hubbard's shifty back.
that's
And
right.
he's hitting
That's right.
hitting those holes hard. And yeah, so it's something something to watch.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing with Pete Carroll. Like he doesn't care for this. He doesn't need a sexy win. He'll go out and grind it and try to find your weakness and go after it until you prove you can do otherwise. So I wouldn't be surprised. We're going to see. If they try to run the ball, 20 plus times in the first half and just try to set a tone, keep the game close going into the fourth quarter, limit the turnovers. From their wideouts perspective, it's kind of impressive that it's
very
it's 50-50
close.
split between their 1 and 2.
Yeah, it's
80,
not somebody. They're not a team that's going to focus. So that's why they'll beat you. And Geno Smith is, really revived his career with those two guys. They're really, you don't know who's going to get the ball. You can't focus. You're not going to put your better DB on either one of those.
Exactly. So DK Metcalf 80 targets, Tyler Lockett at 79. I mean,
man, that is crazy. It is very close. You very rarely see that. I don't think there's another team you're going to be that close. And, I think DK missed a game, but I still don't think you're going to see 1-2 that close on any team.
Yeah. And, my dad's a big Seahawks fan, has been for a very long time. And I mentioned to this over the weekend that, DK seems to drop the ball in big moments and, doesn't seem as reliable as years past. And, he seemed to agree with that. So, but at any given game, you just feel like he can have a monster game, just a big guy. Would you prefer to see Gilmore or Bland on Metcalf?
Gilmore, because he's kind of a little bit bigger of a DB. He's definitely bigger than Bland. So to me, I don't want to. DK's a guy you can throw it up and just let go get it. Yeah. And that's the type of he has the body. I think with a better quarterback, he is an AJ Brown type of receiver. So I want my bigger DB on him to try to slow him down, press him. And Gilmore's an All-Pro. It looks like Bland probably will be this year, but Gilmore is a former Defensive Player of the Year, All-Pro, lockdown cornerback. So I think if I'm going to pick one, I want him on DK.
Now, I do think that Lockett lines up on the strong side and DK on the weak. So if that holds true, Bland's going to be on Metcalf a majority of the game, if not the entire game, which will be fun to watch. Now, PFF has the Seahawks ranked tied for 20th in points scored and 21st in points allowed.
So they don't score a lot and they give up a good amount. It's what I'm hearing.
Yeah, exactly. So that is a tier 3 kind of team.
Yeah, one of those teams that are just going to fight for a wild card. I mean, it is. You look at the talent, and I know we mentioned a lot, but you still forget they have Jamal Adams too, who is one of the best safeties in the league. Quandre Diggs, not another brother, but another Diggs. He's a very good corner. I think he led the NFL last year in interceptions, if I'm not mistaken. And he was definitely up there. Julian Loves is a decent safety. They do have Jaron Reed, who's a solid defensive tackle. But they just don't put fear in you. I think their leader in sacks has 7. I'm not going to try to pronounce his name, Boye Maffey. If I'm correct, that's a tough name to say. But they don't get a lot of turnovers. I think Bland has almost as many interceptions as their whole team. And Dak's really doing better. But it is one of those teams that my biggest concern. with all of the, I think we've kind of bigged them up, the talent they have is not so much the talent they have. It's us looking forward. Like they have enough talent where they can come out and even in Dallas where we have been playing spectacular, can really come in and make a statement. And what a state, like if you look at it from the other side, if I'm just thinking the other perspective, what a statement it would be to make. You know, you go into Cowboys Stadium, Thursday night football, prime time, and just even beat. It doesn't even have to be blowout. Just beat the Cowboys. You know, you're a 6-5 team. You're kind, like you said, kind of on the cusp. Not sure what they are yet. You know, they're going to be very motivated, especially after that prime time Thanksgiving shellacking they received,
Yeah.
to really just come in this week and dominate. So I think you have to. While I don't think they beat us. I do think it's a game you need to come prepared.
Yeah, it's really hard for me to see how the Seahawks, come out on top. I mean, obviously, just like any game, a lot of self-inflicted injuries or such as fumbles and interceptions can make the game slide one way, but they don't really take the ball away all that much. Although, however, their turnover ratio on the season is +2. But again, I mean, kind of like you said, it still doesn't really put the fear in or dire concern going into the game.
No, and Gino is one of the, he's 10th in sacks, this year. So, and he's a guy I think that will take sacks.
Yeah.
So I don't think we have to. I don't want to say this is a game, Thursday night, be nervous, but it is a game. You got to come prepared and you want to see Dak. I think what I want to look for this week is I want to see Dak come out and just continue his dominance, because I wanted to get your thoughts. We did touch on a little last week. Where do you think at this point that we can have Dak and Bland both in that MVP conversation? I think both of them respectively are in their offensive and defensive player of the years conversations. Are they both also in that MVP talk at this point of the season?
Well, I know Dak is for sure. I think Bland deserves to be. Just what he's done and what he's on pace for this season. I mean, he's made history. What else can he do? But at the same time, I think what hurts Dak as well as Bland, if let's say 2 or more of Bland's pick sixes was in the fourth quarter and put us on top or sealed a game, and Dak doesn't really have that memorable fourth quarter drive or multiple fourth quarter drives to come out with a win. These aren't necessarily happening in clutch moments. So I think for the case for both is a little bit hindered, or might be overlooked because of that factor. I mean, what do you think about that?
So on my side, I just think it's tough for a defensive player to get it. I think only once, right? Wasn't LT the only guy to get it. And I just did a quick lookup of the odds. Bland's not on it, which is kind of shocking. I think you need to. I have heard his name thrown around, but it's like you said. I think it's going to have to be. He's going to have to continue this pace throughout the season. He's going to have to get at least 12 picks. The picks are going to have to be double digits for him to get to really get it any talk. Because even Diggs' year, he had, I think, 11. There was nothing for MVP. So a couple more touchdowns. But I think to me at this point, I think Dallas and Dak, if Dak really wants to enter that MVP conversation, because it is pretty significant between him and Hurts, because Hurts right now is leading. Then you have Mahomes and Lamar at 2 and 3. He had 350 and 400 respectively. And then it's a pretty big drop, and Dak and Tua are both tied. And then it's another big drop off. So Dak's in the conversation. I think what needs to happen, and I did state it this week, to me, Dallas's schedule starts this week. I know as Cowboys fans, especially because of the division, we've kept eyes on the Eagles and what they've been doing this year. And kind of, you always keep an eye on your opponent and you look and see who they've played, and you and I had this conversation, and you're like, man, they're not winning good. But to me, when I look at the other side of it, when you're 10-1, they went through a stretch where they had to, they beat the Dolphins, they beat the Cowboys, they beat the Chiefs, they beat the Bills. Then, this week they have San Fran, then they have Dallas and the Seahawks coming up. So the Eagles are really coming out of their stretch of, the schedule that we're now entering. And they're passing it with flying colors. When I look at that Eagle schedule, everybody can say what they want about the loss to the Jets. When you look at it, San Fran lost that week. All the Eagles fans were clowning them. You knew it had to happen. And again, it was right before they were playing the Dolphins in a big game. So to me, I think this is where Dallas, and if Dak wants to be MVP, this is where it needs to start, because you have your stretch of Seattle, Eagles, Bills, Dolphins, Lions. When you look at a guy like Jalen Hurts, no matter how we feel about him, just put up 5 touchdowns against the Bills. He beat Kansas City and he beat Dallas. Regardless of how he played terrible, but he won. And that's, to me, what helps your case. So for Dak, I think for him, and my real, because I'm all in on Dak, I need you over these next 5 weeks to be, and it starts this week. This game is so pivotal because it's a mindset. You can't come in if you're Dak and really be flustered. You can't look past this game. You're the leader of this team. You need to have this team prepared as the quarterback and your offense prepared to go out. You can't have a stinker coming up. And as Dak, as our quarterback, can't have a stinker of a game. He has to come out prepared, and it starts this week. And I think he can really vault himself into a legitimate race with how he plays over these next 5 weeks. I think that's key because, he's beating up Washington. He's beating up the Giants. He's beating up the Panthers, beating up the Rams. Let's see what happens. And this is the stretch. This is the big stretch where we've been looking at all season. And, this is where I had most of our losses coming from, was this little area right here. Mm-hmm. So I, this could be a make or break stretch for Dak's confidence, for a lot of fans' confidence in the team. So it's, I don't think that this isn't the super hugest of games, but it starts the biggest stretch of our schedule that we need to try to win. If we want a shot at the division, we have to pretty much win out this 5-game stretch.
Yeah, and I'm taking it. I do agree with you on everything you said, and I'm taking it week by week. And to what you just mentioned at the end, I want this division. So in order for that to happen, we're likely going to have to win out.
Yes,
and we're going to need some, help. I do believe the 49ers will take care of business. And I do believe that that we will, come out on top against the Seahawks and the Eagles. Our stretch at home, continues. Our winning streak continues. We continue just to dominate on both sides of the ball. I expect our defense to keep the Seahawks under, I want to say 13 points, total points for this game. And, we'll probably get close, probably in the high 20s or 30s.
Do you think either one of those receivers gets 100 yards?
No.
Okay. Because I was thinking if you're holding them 13 or less, I don't think so either. That's gonna be tough. I think 13's low. I just don't. It's a great performance. If we put up 13 points, I'm ecstatic. I mean, if we only give up 13 points, I'm super ecstatic about that.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, if you put pressure on Geno, he'll get flustered. He'll throw it away. He generally likes to take care of the football. He won't take hits. I'm not sure if you remember the video that went viral, and Aaron Donald's coming in and he throws the ball and he says, "Oh crap."
Yeah, that was such a. I think he threw did he throw an interception on that play too? But wasn't.
He just threw it away.
I remember seeing him coming in. Yeah, to be fair, I'm pretty sure most quarterbacks are doing that when Donald's coming straight up that gut. Yeah, it was right up the middle on him. Ain't nobody wanting that hit.
That's true. But But we have the chemistry between Dak and Cooks seems to have been elevated the past couple weeks. I do want to see that continue week over week because that really just gives him three, confidence behind three receivers with that being Lamb, Ferguson, and Cooks. I think with the Seahawks, I've mentioned this before. Where I see a lot of teams having success on our defense is against Jordan Lewis. So if Smith Najigba can make some things happen, create some big plays with that matchup, we'll have to kind of wait and see. I mean, Najigba is a pretty nifty guy. Kind of runs some pretty good crossing routes, which doesn't really always go well, especially when you can make that work to your favor as an offense. You're just kind of running away from a lot of man-to-man coverage, which is what we play most of the time. So, we'll see how that shakes out. But again, I expect DQ to do his thing. I do see, Parsons, I would say at least 1.5 sacks.
I'm about that. That's what I want to. I think that's to me for Dallas. That's where this game's going to be won because I don't think they're going to have issues trying to score.
No.
I think it's going to be you're going to have to get to Geno and get him flustered early, which I think this defense right now is they're really hitting their form. Micah, I think it was like 7.5 sacks over his last 5 games or something like that, and he's really stepping up his performance. And he's not just getting there; he's getting home. Like he's sacking the quarterback where before he's just getting those pressures and getting right there. But other guys were getting the sacks, and it's nice to see him finally coming around with it. And like you said, on offensively, it's nice to see Turpin too. Like Turpin is a guy who I was more shocked as well. But I didn't think he would transition. I actually didn't think he was going to make the team after you kind of saw him not being on the kick return team a bunch in the preseason. But he's a guy I think they're getting more comfortable with him in those gadget plays on offensively. Them end around sweeps and,
right.
Just hitting kind of on the play action because he's got his speed. That kid's fast. So you get him out in the open, Dak's just got to make sure he hits him. So it's so exciting, like you said, too, with Cooks to finally see him hitting his stride. And I think that last week I was so impressed. I get it was Washington, but just the mature, like Dak just getting it to everyone. It wasn't just a CD, and I know CD's third, I think, or third in yards in the league right now receiving. So you want to see him keep piling on because he deserves it. But I do think getting, like you said, Ferguson involved, Cooks involved is just going to build, and it's going to once you get those guys, and now teams are worrying about Cooks, and teams realize they have to worry about Ferguson. That's where you're going to get your Turpins and Ricos and those gadget plays working more effectively. So I really think we're at a point now offensively. I think we've hit our stride. I'm comfortable with this offense. I'm comfortable. I think I'm comfortable with the defense way we're playing now too, because they're just very opportunistic. Very rarely are we going to see a game. I don't think we'll see another Arizona game. And I know that wasn't the worst. I know San Fran was the worst, but I just think that one was a super anomaly. I think Arizona was more of we just couldn't stop them. I just think San Fran all around bad day, you scratch it up.
Yeah.
So to me, I don't think we're going to have another one of those games. I think, I'm glad this stretch of football against these teams is coming up now because I wouldn't have wanted this. If this was early in the season, the first 5 weeks, I think we struggle mightily with it. But this offense is Dak, man. Dak is hitting his stride, and it's so good to see after ripping him. Basically, since we started the show, I've wanted him off this team. So it's nice to really see him hit that stride. I think that's the biggest thing for me. And I think we're going to continue to see that this week. I think it's another one of those things where Dak is just going to just be there, just hit it. He's really hitting his groove. You hear some guys saying he's one of, he may be the best quarterback right now. Just quarterback going out, throwing the ball, making decisions, making the right reads. He doesn't look bad. So I expect pretty much, I think, I definitely think they put up 30 burger this week total. It's going to be probably closer to, I would think 38. to 41. Honestly, I do think we get
Wow.
another touchdown, but I do think Seattle. I'm going to say 21 or 24. But I still think it's still a comfortable win. I think it'll be one of those late things where Seattle's trying to score late, still get, to whatever team does.
Mhm.
And Dallas is going to kind of, okay, let's just go eat. Let's get our stats up and try to go get some sacks and not really worry about the big play. So I think it's a very easy win. I don't expect much from Seattle this week. I know I don't expect us, like you said. I think the locker room, I think Dak's in a good spot. I'm comfortable enough with McCarthy right now. I think that he hasn't prepared not to look at that Sunday night game next week. I think he hasn't focused on Seattle.
Yeah, no, I agree. And man, I think so. I say 27-13 is where I have our boys landing.
You're disrespecting that offense.
And I want to go higher because I do think we will get turnovers. I just feel like, whether it's Gino that coughs up the ball one way or the other, or our defense creating something. But I'm just going to go on the conservative end because they're just going to be so hungry coming off a loss. The Seahawks play us, and then they have to go back to San Francisco. So it's like it's a painful stretch for them.
They're not looking at San Fran after what happened last week. They're not looking ahead. They're like, let's just worry about this week.
And so they're going to get 14 days rest, like a weekend, not 14, a week and a half.
Yeah.
Right, for that Niners matchup. And the Niners, it's probably going to take everything out of them to come to Philly and get the victory here in Philly, which I think they will do. So, for whatever that comes to be. But I just do think the Seahawks will keep it close for a while. But we'll prevail. If it ends as a one possession win, I wouldn't be surprised.
Oh, you think it's gonna be that? I'd see. I believe I think to me it's more of my belief in Dak right now, just to think he's going to put it away. He's going to put these guys away. He's going to have that offense. Probably the last drive or two. He's not going to be out there. He's going to be resting. He knows. I think because I said it in the beginning. This is the year that he needs to show up. And he's really doing. He's second in the league in touchdown passes, 8 interceptions. He's leading. I think he's first or second in QBR, first and second in rating. So he's having himself a very good year. But again, none of that means anything over the next 5 weeks. What he's done through the first few, he needs to show up, and I think he's there mentally. I think he's figuring it out. I think he's got it. He's comfortable with the offense. I'm so excited. That's why I think it's a blowout, because I really believe in Dak. And I'm going to be so sad if he breaks my heart. I'll tell you that, it's going to be, I'm going to be terrified. I'm going to be so upset. I'm going to be crying, blubbering in the bathroom, makeup running down my face like all the girls do.
Well, I mean, my last point here is that I do like what you were saying about Turpin. It's kind of like I felt, or I don't know if you felt the same last year. We were like holding him secret until the playoffs, but that really never happened. But now he's in there for some gadget plays, and he's getting the ball probably a higher percentage of the time when he's actually in the play. So I think come playoff time, that's only going to work to our benefit. Where he could be a decoy. So I do like what I'm seeing from Turpin. I do like what I'm seeing from Dak, obviously. So yeah, I mean, I'm excited. This is a pretty nice, Thursday night football matchup. There aren't, a whole lot of exciting ones. I guess Baltimore and Cincinnati was probably the only other,
This will be my first ever, well, not first, since it went to Amazon Prime. This will be the first time I watch a Thursday night football game. I refuse to watch it on Amazon.
Okay.
So part of me doesn't even want to watch it just because it's on Amazon, because the Bezos is taking over now and you have to have Amazon Prime. It's terrible. That's not a knock on Bezos or Amazon Prime. I use it. So if Bezos, don't be mad at me. If you want to give me a job, hey, I'm here. I can do your taxes, sir. But we have it. There we have it. Mr. Aaron James and myself both. We both have the Cowboys coming out this week, and moving to 9-3 ahead of that big rematch against the Eagles down in Dallas this time. So I think this is not a must win, but you need to start out. I think it is actually. It is kind of, you have to go in, you have to handle business. You need to be confident going into next week, because the way we played the Eagles the first time, you don't expect the same type of game, but you have confidence that you can beat these guys, and and like we said, this stretch coming up is our toughest of the year, and I think it'll really determine and shape out how we do in the playoffs. And if we're playing for that number one seed, we could still be the number one seed in football, with possibility. We just have to win out, and that starts this week. So we really appreciate you guys for listening again. Again, you catch us on all of our socials, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, the Cowboys Takeover Podcast. And you can also catch us on YouTube, Cowboys Takeover Podcast as well. You give us a like, subscribe there. And then again, you can watch us on both Facebook and YouTube. So go give us a comment, give us a like, just chat us up some. You come in during our shows, chat us up. We're always here to talk to you guys, and really, we just appreciate everybody that listens. Everybody that really just cares what Aaron and I have to say. We've been so grateful and so passionate, and we're so happy that we're halfway through the season. What we've been prepping for and preparing for and really discussing, we're halfway done our first season of episodes. So again, we really appreciate you everyone for listening, and just keep listening, keep giving us a listen. We really love it. Give us a follow, and then you can catch us on Spotify or wherever you guys get your podcast listening. So we really appreciate you guys. We'll drop something out when we'll do our post game. May not be Thursday night. Maybe we'll try. We'll discuss. We'll let you guys know before the game. So again, for Mr. Aaron James, I'm Jason Kent. Really appreciate you all. Enjoy. Hope you guys had a great Thanksgiving. Let's prep. Tomorrow's my birthday. Happy birthday, me. Good night.